The morning sun spilled across the small kitchen table where Rowan Hale sat staring at the unopened text message that had been haunting him since last night. His best friend, Milo, had convinced him, practically dragged him into agreeing to a blind date as a favor, because apparently Rowan needed to live like a human again. But Rowan wasn't thinking about dating. He was thinking about school fees, overdue utility bills, and how to stretch groceries for one more week. And if life wasn't already heavy enough, his daughter Aria's laughter echoed from the other room, reminding him of the one reason he kept going, even when everything felt impossible. He didn't expect anything from today. He certainly didn't expect fate to walk in dressed in power, elegance, and a story that would change everything. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected blessings, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel Kindness Spark. It truly helps us bring more heart-touching stories to you. Rowan stood up and washed the single plate in the sink. The apartment was small, old, and one rent increase away from becoming unaffordable, but it was home. Every mark on the wall reminded him of Arya learning to walk. Every crack reminded him of the battles he'd fought alone after losing his wife 3 years ago. He worked as a car mechanic at a local shop, took every overtime hour he could, and still somehow ended each month calculating what he could postpone until the next paycheck. The blind date wasn't something he wanted. It was simply something he agreed to because Milo wouldn't stop pestering him, saying he deserved a life outside survival. By noon, the day was bright and warm. Rowan stepped outside wearing jeans and a button-down shirt he found at the back of the closet, slightly wrinkled but clean. He left Aria with his elderly neighbor, Mrs. Culden, who practically adopted the girl as her own granddaughter. As he walked toward the cafe where the blind date was supposed to take place, he rehearsed ways to politely end the meeting early. He wasn't good at pretending his life was fine. He wasn't good at pretending at all. When he reached the cafe, a modern place, with glass walls and sunlight pouring in like liquid gold, he hesitated at the door. He expected someone ordinary. Maybe someone who, like him, didn't have much to give except honesty. But when the door opened from the inside and he saw the woman standing there, his breath locked in his chest. She was tall, poised, impeccably dressed in a cream-colored blazer that looked expensive enough to pay 2 months of his rent. Her dark auburn hair framed her face softly, though her expression carried the sharpness of someone who made decisions that moved entire companies. There was something commanding in her presence, yet her eyes, hazel and unexpectedly gentle, held a depth that made Rowan forget where he was. "Rowan Hale?" she asked. He swallowed. "Yes." "And you're Seren Vale?" She smiled, but it wasn't rehearsed like he expected. It was warm, human, surprisingly real. "I think we're the blind date." Rowan blinked. His heart thudded. This wasn't what he expected. This wasn't what he signed up for. She looked like she belonged to another world entirely. Inside, the cafe was bright with midday sunlight. People chatted quietly, cups clinked, and the sound of soft jazz hummed from speakers. Rowan felt out of place immediately, sitting across from Sirin. She carried herself like someone used to having the world bend to her voice, but she didn't act like it. Instead, she asked him how his morning had been, if he liked the coffee here, if he preferred tea instead. Simple questions, but she asked them with sincerity. Rowan answered honestly, maybe too honestly, but Sirin didn't seem bothered by the lack of polish in his words. She listened like nobody had listened to him in years. She told him she was the CEO of Valison Innovations, a tech company he'd only heard about vaguely on the radio. He tried not to let his surprise show, but Sirin laughed softly. "I know," she said. "Everyone assumes I breathe spreadsheets and negotiate in my sleep. You don't." Rowan managed, and she pressed her lips together to hide a smile. Their conversation unfolded like sunlight spreading across a cold room. Rowan learned that Sirin, despite her success, lived a life of heavy expectation. Her parents were strict, her days were filled with meetings, and her success came at the cost of loneliness she rarely admitted. Rowan told her about Arya, about losing his wife, about the years of trying to hold everything together. He didn't expect to tell her so much, but something about Sirin made him feel safe. As the hours passed, the weight he'd been carrying felt a little lighter. Outside, the day grew brighter. They walked together toward the parking lot, and Sirin paused beside her sleek car, hesitation flickering in her eyes. "I didn't expect today to feel like this," she said, "like I could breathe." Rowan nodded. "Me either." They exchanged numbers, not because they were supposed to, but because they wanted to. When Rowan walked home, he didn't notice how tired he was. He only noticed how the sunlight felt warmer than usual. Over the next few days, Sirin texted him more than he expected someone with her schedule would. Sometimes short messages, sometimes long ones after midnight when stress weighed heavily on her shoulders. Rowan replied between fixing cars, between lunch breaks, between helping Arya with her homework. Slowly, their conversations became the part of the day each of them looked forward to. One afternoon, Sirin asked if she could meet Arya not officially, just by chance while Rowan picked her up from school. Rowan hesitated, protective instinct rising, but Arya was everything to him, and he didn't want to let fear build walls around something that felt good, so he agreed. The sun was high and bright when Sirin arrived. Arya stepped forward with her small backpack and curious brown eyes, studying Sirin like she was a character from a fairy tale. Sirin knelt to the girl's height, her expensive blazer touching the ground without hesitation. "Hi, Arya. I've heard so much about you," she said softly. Arya smiled shyly. "Daddy says you're very smart." Sirin's laugh was gentle and warm. "Your daddy is very kind." For just a moment, Rowan watched them from the side, feeling something he hadn't felt in years, hope blooming like fragile petals. But life had its tests. A week later, Rowan received a call from the shop owner, telling him the business was closing down. The owner was retiring, and the property was being sold. The small team would receive a small severance, but jobs were gone. Rowan's heart cracked. He didn't know how he would pay rent next month, let alone take care of Arya's school fees. Everything he had worked so hard to hold together now felt like it was slipping through his fingers. He didn't tell Sirin at first. He didn't want to be a burden, but she sensed something in his silence and showed up at his apartment unannounced on a bright afternoon. Rowan opened the door, and she saw the tightness in his jaw, the exhaustion in his eyes.